A long-term lease. What is a long-term lease? Well, first of all, a lease is generally a legal agreement or a contract between a landlord and a tenant in respect of a business premises. A long-term lease is generally for a period of in excess of 5 years. So what are the key parts to a long-term lease? Well, they're quite like a short-term lease, except they're a little bit more detailed and on occasion convoluted. Those key parts are, first of all, property description, permitted user, rent reviews, term, and provisions in relation to repairs and maintenance. Property description. So this is really important for both parties that it details precisely what is being leased. Is it the ceilings? Is it the walls? Is it the outer leaf of the building? What exactly is being leased by the landlord to the tenant should be detailed very accurately and obviously illustrated by way of map. This assists in avoiding confusion or future legal dispute. So the permitted user clause of the contract will detail what type of activity can take place on the leased premises. Again, hugely important for both parties that this is correct, that it's in keeping with the commercial terms of the arrangement between both parties, and obviously for both landlord and tenant that it complies with all planning and development and building control regulations. So an example of a permitted user would be a retail use for a premises as against use as a restaurant, for example. So the term is really important to define in the lease, i.e. the amount of time that the premises is being leased for. And typically long-term leases are for periods in excess of 5 years, and you do see them for circa 21 years in many cases. These longer term leases do hold value, so it is really important to get the definition of the term correct. So unlike short-term leases, long-term leases, given the length of time that the property is going to be leased for, includes rent review provisions. And again, it's important for both parties to be really clear on the basis on which that rent is going to be reviewed. Is it going to be a market rate increase? Is it going to be index linked? So detail around the mechanics of the rent review should be well defined in the lease, and exactly when and how that rent review takes place. Tenants in particular need to be really careful with rent reviews because generally they're drafted on an upward only rent review basis. So once again, unlike short-term leases, longer term leases are usually on what they call an FRI basis. That's a full repairing and insuring basis. It's really important for both parties to the contract to understand the extent of the obligations, particularly around the repairs and the maintenance. Because not only do these clauses extend to repairs for damage that is sustained during the term of the tenancy, but they can also extend to damage that was pre-existing. So it's really important that those clauses are drafted very, very carefully, so as not to place an unduly onerous obligation on the incoming tenant. As we've noted previously, there's absolutely no obligation on either a landlord or a tenant to seek legal advice in relation to a long-term lease. However, given the extent of the obligations and the risks that are associated with those obligations and the potential financial fallout for both parties, it's strongly advised that expert advice is obtained before entering into a long-term lease. For more information on this, please feel free to book an appointment with one of our team by clicking on the link below. Thank you.